Hey guys, and welcome back to the Cultured Corner. My name is Ebony Omolara, and today I'm going to be making 3 crystal waist beads with you. So I'm going to be making a lapis lazuli waist bead, a rose quartz waist bead, and a turquoise waist bead. And what we're going to be talking about today is what it truly means to know your worth. And so we're going to go through the 5 elements of self in terms of physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, and financial. And then kind of where the source of your worth comes from in each of those things, and how to recognize if you're being abused. And this is all a part of me sharing my story about non-consensual victimization and trauma, which is basically just about abuse and trauma that we've experienced that we didn't choose, we didn't willingly go into. Like, okay, I know exactly what's happening here, but we kind of have to deal with the consequences of it. Sorry, I thought I plugged in my bead spinner and I did not. So we're gonna reach over here, grab this, move it under the table, and then plug it in. So I'm just gonna go straight in. Thank you if you're watching this on TikTok Live, or if you're watching this on the YouTube replay. Also, thank you. The reason why I wanted to do this live is because there have been a lot of conversations about knowing your worth and what that means, and what you should tolerate and what you shouldn't. And for me, it was always like, but what I value in a relationship is different to other people. And I recognized that from early on. And so by looking at each thing, it was like, okay, where does the value lie? And so what do I need to protect? And so if we start off with physical, I basically wrote that your worth in terms of your physical self is about appreciating your body, your health, and your sexiness. And so that one's pretty straightforward in terms of how do you treat your body, how do you speak to your body, how do you feel about your body, and whether or not that's something that works in your favor or works against you, because it's all up to us. And when we tell ourselves things like, oh, I'm ugly, my body isn't good enough, or like, there's just so many things that when we say it, we're disempowering ourselves. And so when someone comes in, it's very easy for them to uplift us from that very dark space. But if they're manipulative, then you're going to be getting abused. And so it's important to recognize how your relationship with yourself is formed. In terms of physically, do you look after yourself through your eating, through your sleeping, through your indulging, through movement? Do you tell your body that you love your body? Do you show your body that you love your body? Do you honor your body in terms of nutrients? Yes, what we eat, but also what is around, who touches it. There's so many different ways in which we can look after our physical health. And so when it comes to abuse and that side of things, I put down that identifying threats or abuse when it comes to physical is threats of violence or an intimidating environment. For example, domestic violence, but also patronizing, threatening behavior and sexual abuse are also forms of physical abuse, because it's disrespectful to the body. If you are having a negative impact on someone's nervous system, you're most likely posing a physical threat to them because of what's happening. Sometimes it can be emotional, but where our bodies start shaking and things in response to someone, that is a physical reaction of our body saying no. And we have to learn to listen to that. And so it's very important. And obviously I mentioned sexual abuse and domestic violence will be the most obvious forms of physical abuse. And sometimes those things can be excused. I've heard someone say like, oh, if your woman is not listening to you, then just give her like a little smack and she'll listen. And they probably got it from the way in which people discipline children, and then seeing women as children and not having their own authority and sovereignty over themselves. And so they use that threat of physical violence to make you feel small, and you're not small, and it's never okay. There's nothing you can do to warrant that response, that reaction. And you have to know that you're allowed to make mistakes, you're allowed to get things wrong. And if someone in any moment when you do make a mistake or you do something where they don't like it and that's how they respond, then they're not a safe person and you have to get out of there ASAP. So yeah, that's physical. I'm just gonna run through them quickly. I was gonna try and like do it in more depth and maybe share some examples. Maybe I'll still do that. So I was in a situation where my partner was physically abusive to me, but because it wasn't like he wasn't beating me up, or it wasn't like full, I don't know, it wasn't full DV. I think I allowed it in that moment, or I didn't even really question it. And it happened on maybe 3 occasions. So the first occasion it happened while I was sleeping and I didn't know, and I've told the story before so I won't tell it again. But because I'd woken up and I didn't remember anything, and he kind of told me, I didn't take it seriously because I'm like, what do you mean you dragged me out of my bed and you was hitting me and shaking me and stuff? And it's actually really sick. Like, I'm still giggling, and I'm not giggling because I was abused, obviously not, or maybe I am and it's just awkward, like, I don't know. But the thing that I found funny, which is not funny at all, is how did I sleep through that? How did I not remember? But at the end of the day, I feel like God just didn't want me to experience that conscious. So yeah, and I have to give context in terms of my dad's form of disciplining when I was growing up was physical abuse. I used to get beats for anything, from doing my timetables too slow, to singing songs on the radio at the hairdressers. Like, yeah, I just got in trouble for loads of different things. And so I think in that moment, even hearing it, I was like, okay, well, fair enough. I fell asleep and he was locked out, so he was angry. But I just can't believe that happened in my sleep and I didn't wake up. And I left it as that. And it wasn't until months later, it was the first day of Ramadan, and I went out and I was wearing a low-cut bell-bottom jeans and like this crop jumper, but it wasn't even fully cropped, but anyway, a crop jumper. And so when he got home, he came back with his friend, and he was really, to my house by the way, but anyway, he was really angry at me because my lower back and belly was showing. And he like, I don't even understand, this is what I'm saying, all these physical abuse experiences, I didn't even clock it at the time because I was always just questioning, this doesn't look like what I recognize abuse to be, maybe. And that's why I didn't see it that way. But he basically like folded up a t-shirt and dashed it at my face, like here. And I remember my face was stinging, and I was thinking, what kind of technique did he use to throw it that is making my face sting? And that was where my curiosity lied. It wasn't in the fact that he actually threw it at me. Of course it made me upset, and I used to go like, I will cry in the kitchen as I'm cooking, but I shared the kitchen, so I would have to find private times to express how I was really feeling. And I never really told him until months later. And then the last incident, it wasn't as bad as the others, I would say, and it's not like the worst form of physical abuse ever. But I don't like it when people grab me in a way that means that I can't leave. So if you grab my arm like this, that's abuse. Because why are you holding me hostage? And that happened around one of the last times that we spoke about like us and before we broke up. And so again, it was easy for that to happen because I didn't believe that I was worthy in the first place. I didn't tell myself, I didn't love my body at the time. I was always very critical of it. And I didn't tell myself that I deserved better than that treatment. And so I stayed in it until I couldn't anymore. And when I left that relationship, this kind of goes into the physical side. Obviously, I've spoken about my relationship. I've spoken about my experiences with SA on my YouTube channel in terms of within my family and outside of it. And when it comes to this wasn't SA, but I had sex with my ex. Obviously, we were still kind of together at the time. And I remember in the middle of it, I just started crying. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do it anymore. And it was because my body had given up. All the emotional weight of what the relationship forced me to carry, I couldn't do it. And so he being there was, I don't know if that's Miley, but if it's Miley, hi Lee. But him being there, him being present, and us doing that intimate thing, my body rejected it. And I couldn't tell my body, no, it's okay, he's safe, because my body knew before my mind was able to. I could tell by the planet and the moon, you know. How are you? I'm talking about knowing our worth truly today through like physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, and financial care. And so like where our ideas of worth come from and value within those things, and then like the ways in which they can be manipulated. So I just did physical. The next one is mental. And so what I wrote about like mental self-care is trust your mental capacity and don't be afraid to learn. So for a lot of us as women, we're not even raised not to trust ourselves. We're just not raised to go to ourselves as a trusted source in the first place. It's always like someone else has to decide for us. So when we are adults and we want to make decisions, it's like we always need someone to validate that decision or choice for us, even where they might not get it, even where they might not understand, or where their own experiences don't give them the wisdom and the knowledge that we need to learn in that moment. And then the other side of it is like, because we're raised to be dependent, but at the same time hyper independent, sometimes we don't allow ourselves to learn and go forward. And it's like, it has to be what I said it is, because if not, what does that mean about me? And that's again just us not being able to have grace and know that it's okay if I didn't know something. It's okay if I thought something and I realized after that I made a huge mistake, and now maybe things need to be dismantled, or I need to start again, or just change the way in which things are being done. Lee said, always looking outwards, so then we don't know how to trust our intuition, seeking for answers. Exactly that, because we're not raised to ask ourselves, what do you want? It's like, this is what you're gonna get. That's what it is. And if you question it, then there's a problem. And so when we take that into our lives as we're older, again, this whole thing is about like being aware of abusers and manipulators. When we take that into our lives as we're older, we're not trusting our intuition when it's telling us, hey, this person is not safe. Hey, this place is not for me. Hey, because we're just used to being told what to do. So if someone's telling you, no, you're good, you just automatically trust it until you find out the hard way. And that is hard. So yeah, definitely about trusting your own mind and the things that you're thinking. And if you don't feel like you can trust that, then go and get the support and evidence that you need. Ask someone that you trust for advice. Read a book. Watch a YouTube video that's going to give you the information to inform your decision. And then when we talk about the threats to mental health, it's to cause confusion. I put it down as to cause confusion or set up falsities in one's reality or experience. The most basic example is when people enter relationships under false pretenses, like pretending to be single or selling dreams to manipulate. And so it sounds silly because some people are like, oh, I don't need to tell someone the truth if we're just casually dating, or I don't need to tell them the truth at first. But if you know that you are a married man or woman and you get into a relationship with someone who believes that they're in a loyal partnership with you, they're living in a delusion, you've got them in the dark. And that automatically means that they're not going to be okay. Keeping secrets. Secrecy and privacy are two different things. People want to play up the privacy card when really you're being secretive so that you can be manipulative, because you know, if I knew the truth, I would not be here right now. And so putting someone in that situation, it disempowers them because they don't have the true facts to make a decision. And so now they're making decisions according to something that is not true. And when the truth comes out, it's going to be a rug pull from under their feet. And that isn't always amazing. Sometimes when I've had the rug pulled from under my feet, I've almost not recovered. Like right now, I'm in recovery from a rug pulling moment. And honestly, it's taking a lot of strength to deal with that, because it means that multiple things become true at once, but then the things that I thought were true are also, I'm not sure anymore. So then I start to doubt my mind. And where we know we can't control all of our thoughts, we're gonna get thoughts that we have to push to the side. You start to look into those thoughts and spend more time with them, which can be good so that you can understand where they're coming from and stuff. But if you, again, have been manipulated, and maybe your manipulator is still around, and maybe there's after effects of that, then you're gonna be very confused, and it's just not an easy thing to do, to discern when you've got people around you who aren't safe, but who are pretending to care about your safety and your well-being. So when we're looking after our mental health, again, it's about, what do I know and what don't I know? And it's okay that I don't know, and where can I find out? And taking it step by step, because we're not going to be geniuses just the day after. I am realizing now, I've known for the last 2 years that I have a problem with boundaries because of the child abuse in my childhood. And over the last 2 years, it's been very frustrating trying to unlearn those things and then be different. Of course, I'm still doing it. Sometimes it's the actual thing of saying no and I get really nervous. Sometimes it's the aftermath of when I say no and how the person reacts and responds and how I feel guilty. And you don't want to listen to me anymore, please go and sleep. Then get off my page. Simple. Anyway. So yeah, that's when it comes to your mental health, making sure that you do your best to stay informed. Even if someone is hiding something from you, everything done in the dark will come to light. And so don't worry about all of that. What you need to know will find you in the time that it needs to find you. And it's just making sure you have the strength to do what you need to do about that. Yeah. So we're going to move on to spiritual health. And we're going to ignore that person's comment. Because you guys are crazy. This little one page on TikTok, yeah, out of all the millions, billions, trillions of pages on here, but you're gonna come and comment that I should get off instead of you leaving. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Cool. So the next one is spiritual health, and I put it down as being yourself, choosing yourself, and loving yourself. And so when it comes to spiritual health, spirit, energy, and emotions to me are like one and the same. Because your spirit is determined by your energy. Your energy is determined by your emotions. Because your emotions carry an aura. They carry vibrations. They carry frequency. And so when we talk about our spiritual health, it's related to our emotional health. But I guess it's the connect between your logic and your emotion. And so where you make your choices from, and if those choices are authentic to you, or if they're authentic, or if they're conforming to an external standard, which could be a partner, which could be a family group, it could be a work group, it could be a friendship group, it could be a community, anything like that. And so when we talk about where our choices are coming from, sometimes we don't do it on purpose. We've literally been raised to please, and depending on who your parents were, that will like set up your people pleasing tendencies. Where I had parents who had unhealthy egos, and so a lot of their authority was just because I said so, not because there was any reasoning behind it, not because it was actually the best thing for me. And so that meant when I was growing up, a lot of the choices I thought I was making because I wanted to, it was actually because I felt like I had to. So someone said there's too many generalizations and I should be specific. I'm trying to think of what's the best example. It always comes back to this because it's been such a huge impact on my life. But when I was 3, 4, 5, my dad's friend touched me inappropriately. And my dad basically said to me, don't tell anyone that happened and it's my fault. So when I was 16 and I lost my virginity and I was raped, I didn't need anyone to come and tell me that it was my fault because I'd already learned that at 3, 4, 5 years old. When it happened to me again when I was 19, I didn't know consent. I didn't know boundaries. I didn't know any of those things because I wasn't taught that. So in my spirit, where I feel like I'm making choices because that's who I'm supposed to be, looking back now, I can see that I was actually I'd taken on the role of abusing myself because abusers around me made it my fault when I was just a kid. And so that obviously meant that my spiritual care for a really long time, it wasn't self-serving. I didn't know how to put myself first, and not in a way that's just selfish, but in a way that is protective, in a way that will make sure that I will be okay and I don't have to go through more trauma. And so yeah, that's the example that I have for you guys. I'm gonna go into the abuse side of it. What time is it? I don't have all the time in the world today, but yeah. So when it comes to spiritual abuse, I spoke about to impose God's judgment or restrict one's being. If someone does you wrong or hurts you and tells you to turn to God as opposed to taking responsibility, this is abusive. The best example is slaves being told that their situation was ordained by God. And so that's on the bigger, large scale, yeah, of literally people was forced into slavery and told this is what God said for you. And so if you believe that, that's what you would go on and do. And you believe that these people who are telling you have more power than you and all of these things. And it was never true. So now you're being abused. On a smaller scale of that, obviously I spoke about, in the definition, I said if someone does you wrong and tells you to turn to God. So let's go back to my abuse. My cousin abused me when I was growing up every other Christmas when I would go to my grandma's. When I told my family, they all said, oh, Ebony, it's not that deep, blah, 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 blah. And then my cousin's mum paid to refurbish my grandma's house. And so when my grandma called me to her house to talk about my abuse, she didn't know that I already knew about the payment of the house. She tried to lie to me about it, whatever, cool. She kept on saying, well, Ebony, I'm a woman of God, so that means that blah, 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 blah. And it hurt me so much because I'm like, in your house, where you're my grandmother, I'm your first grandchild, and I'm supposed to be safe. This person who touched me is not even my blood relative. But fine, let's forget about the blood stuff. I've told you that he's abused me, and you've told me if I believe in God, I will let it go. Then 2 years later, I'm crying. 2 years later, I've told you that my dad's best friend touched me when I was younger, and you've said the same thing to me again. If I believe in God, then I will let it go. But I still have to, that man is still around. And that's why I say that it's abusive, because now you're making me feel like I'm doing the wrong thing by stepping away, by not going to my dad's house so I don't have to bump into the guy who touched me when I was 10. And by doing all of these things, there's something wrong with Ebony. She's worshipping the devil. What the hell? Where does that even come from? And you're rightly, people forget to look for the God within because they're performing their godliness. They're performing holiness. Thank you. I actually miss you so much, you know. I just started... I'll message you about it. Anyway, yeah, so because her faith is performative, she can't actually deal with the emotions of what's going on in her household. And it's frustrating because she's a nurse. She's been a nurse since I was younger. She just started up this thing for men's mental health. But when it comes to your granddaughter, you just tell her that, oh, she needs to believe in God. And that's it. No, sorry that this happened to you. She also said, oh, you have to know that things are going to happen like that because you're pretty. And there was just no... yeah, it gets a little bit emotional sometimes. But that is like the basis of spiritual abuse, where oftentimes or not, God or religion is used as a fearful thing just to sugarcoat it and push it under the rug. And then the other side of it is in restricting your being. So one side is like, no, you're not supposed to feel that way. You're not allowed to feel that way because God says. And the other side of it is you can't be who you are. You can't ask the questions that you want to have. It's just like this whole putting someone in a box, this whole restrictive, this whole suppression. That is what spiritual abuse is. And if someone is abusing you, get somewhere safer. And it's hard. For me, this happened a lot, again, to do with religion and asking questions that people felt like you're not allowed to ask that. I asked someone, if Islam originated in different places, how come you're only allowed to pray in Arabic? And before the Arabs came over to Africa, how would Muslims have prayed in Arabic? Because they wouldn't have known Arabic. And when I say the lady tried to destroy me, as in blacklisted me in my community, because I asked a question that she couldn't answer. And don't get twisted, I wasn't coming from a disrespectful place of what you believe in is fake, because I believe that each of us has our own thing and we're all just trying to make it work for ourselves. So where I was punished for asking a question, that's abusive, because it makes me feel like I'm not allowed to do that. And I'm 27 now. That happened when I was like maybe 24, 25. For some people, that happens to them when they're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old and you're a kid just asking questions, trying to figure out the world. And you're literally told, no, this is just how it is. And so when things happen when we're older, when we're in abusive relationships, if somebody tells you that's just how it is, you just accept it, you swallow it, and you continue on your life. And it's how we've silenced ourselves. And why when someone speaks up, it's such a huge, oh my gosh, this person. But yeah, I need to take a little breather. I just finished making the turquoise crystal waist bead, which is not in our store yet. I'm going to be adding the turquoise, the rose quartz, and the lapis lazuli this week. But we do have green aventurine, we have orange selenite, we have cherry quartz, citron, white turquoise, black obsidian, carnelian, fluorite, amethyst. We have clear quartz. We have loads of crystal waist beads in our shop, so please check them out. And yeah, I don't trust anyone who wants blind obedience. Narrow-minded people who don't question anything. And that's the point. A lot of them are in fear. And so when you start asking these questions, they start to worry, because their foundation isn't built on something that like they cultivated from internally. It's something that they just accepted from someone. And when they did have questions or uncomforts, they didn't choose to speak up. They didn't choose to ask the questions. They didn't choose that. And so when someone else does, they have a problem. And now I don't care anymore. Like, say, for example, actually, we'll put this in the next one. The next one is about emotional abuse, yeah. This person that was in my comments talking about, oh, I don't like what you're talking about, just come off live and go to sleep. When I said, if you don't like it here, you should leave, they then commented, I've always been a high vibrational person. Okay, so why are you trying to kick someone out of their own space that you don't even need to be in? So now you're making me feel like my perspective of you coming into my life and telling me to get off is wrong because you're a high vibrational person. But that's not high vibrational. You guys learned to speak a language because of social media and you don't even know what you're saying and you don't know what it means. If you are high vibrational and you came into my life and you did not like what I was saying, because as a human, you're not going to like everything, you would just leave and say, okay, what that person is doing over there is for them. This thing where we need to control each other and make you believe my way and I'm right and you're wrong and this and this and that, it's all just ego. It's not high vibrational. High vibrational means the highest frequency, which is love. In love, there's no right or wrong. And I know that sounds messed up. It doesn't mean there's no accountability. It just means that everything is done through the funnel of love. Let's say, for example, easiest example, you have a friend who smells, yeah? It's a very horrible thing to tell someone that they smell, but if you love that person, I don't want you to walk around people who don't have your best interests at heart and are going to be making jokes and da-da-da-da-da. So I'm going to come and tell you that you're emitting a certain kind of odor. That's wrong. That's bad. But I love you, so I'm going to do that. And this is where yin yang comes in and all of these things. And it's just a little example. Obviously, there's other things that you can apply it to. But we just have to... It's about your intention and where it's coming from. And without asking questions, you cannot find out someone's intention. I just spoke about this. So I have a song called Why'd You Make Me Do It? That's coming out this Friday. So make sure you go pre-save that on my portfolio links and stream it. It will be everywhere. And the song was about sabotage, and it was annoying me because someone said make you do what? I'm gonna tell the story now. So I originally wrote the song because I was in love with a guy who had me doing all this emotional labor in terms of what he was dealing with. He'll come to me and he'll tell me the truth about it, and I will share kind words of affirmation and wisdom and all of these things, and then he'd go back into the same thing again. And I was like, why are you making me do this for you? Why are you coming here for consolation so you can go back and then come back for the same consolation? Then I realized he's not making me do anything. I'm doing it. Why am I doing that? And it gets to the point where, oh, this is emotionally abusive. He knows how I feel about him, so he knows I'm going to do it. Until I stop doing that. And then the conversation kind of changes, but it's putting ourselves first in a way that we've never been given permission to. It's always been about somebody else. In my household, everybody walked in eggshells around my dad. My dad, who didn't work, by the way, his wife worked 3 jobs while still cooking, cleaning, and taking care of children. My dad played video games and he went out with his friends. He got pocket money from his parents and his wife. And his daughter had to steal her clothes. For when I started working, my dad basically every time tried to take everything I had. And at first I gave it to him. Why'd you make me do this? Why'd you make me give you my last 10, 20 pound? I'm 18 years old living on my own so that you can buy a drink, so that you can buy a zoo. And at the time I didn't even know that was abusive. I did it because I loved my dad. So I don't know. When I spoke to my aunt, years ago, about my dad and his behavior and things that he says and blah de blah, she said, well, you're an idiot for believing him. He's my dad. He literally raised me to believe it. Like, where was I supposed to say, oh no, this guy is lying from? I don't know. But even that is like emotionally abusive, because in that moment of your niece saying, hey, how come... I was literally in a point where I was like, it's something... Well, my dad always said there was something wrong with me. He said that he fucked me up, raising me and blah, 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 blah. And so I was asking, like, guys, what's the matter with me? And they're like, oh, well, you're stupid. After being abused by someone, being called stupid by other people does not help. And that when people treat me like that because I'm a girl, is very frustrating. But yeah, we're going to move into emotional health. And so I said emotional health is about honoring how you feel and expressing your needs. And so I realized as I've been on this journey, thanks again to that troll who was saying, oh, I'm a high vibrational person, you need to get off live. What we convince ourselves is very hard to like. What we tell ourselves is hard to convince ourselves against that. And so for a long time on my healing journey, I kept on telling myself, you're not supposed to feel how you feel. It's supposed to feel a different way. And it's like, I've come to realize recently, there is no way that I'm supposed to feel. Feelings are going to go wherever they want to. It's what I do about that that's important. Because No matter how I feel, I still have the control over my mind and over myself and how I'm gonna act. I can tell you, I am raging. I'm roaring red right now. I'm mad. But it doesn't mean I'm gonna go beat someone up. Because I'm not that angry. Or that's not how I deal with my anger. So being able to channel it, that's the second step of it. Identifying, how do I feel? Sometimes it's not in words. Sometimes you will literally just see me punch in the air, like frustrated, red, blowing smoke, horns. But then if you ask me, okay, what do I need now? That's what I needed. I needed to box the air. I needed a juice. I needed to smoke a zoo. I needed to do something to calm down. And sometimes, like smoking, I haven't always chosen the best things to help me with what I need. And that's the learning journey of, okay, how do I meet my emotional needs? And once you start meeting your emotional needs, it's harder for people to manipulate you, because you know you can get your own needs met. A lot of relationships have become transactional because people are getting their needs met in not underhanded ways, because it's not always like messed up morally. Sometimes it's just indirect, and so you don't recognize that you're serving that need for someone. The best example I can think is like, if you have a partner who likes to make you jealous, and so he brings these women around and blah de blah de blah, and now you're getting angry, like, are you taking the mick? Are you disrespecting me? But you're actually meeting his insecure needs of like, I need to feel wanted. So you're playing into that, but you don't know that's what's actually going on here. Because if he actually said to you, I need to feel wanted, you could probably find 100 ways to make him feel that. But because he's not having that open conversation with you, you're then working against yourself and against what you're feeling in that moment. Yeah. Before I continue on the emotional needs though, what I was going to say about like the spiritual abuse is giving yourself permission to say, what do I think about this? Is really like the key to your freedom. Because it means that you're allowing yourself to ask questions. You're allowing yourself to have a different opinion. You're allowing yourself to even hear what other people have to say without being swayed, or you might be swayed, and that's all your journey. Like, I've said this before, of people expecting things to stay the same, and that's just not realistic, like, at all. Everything is always constantly changing. The wind that blew 2 seconds ago right here in this spot is now wherever. It could have gone in any direction. Do you know what I mean? Even the water, they say you can't jump in the same water twice because it's always flowing. And so when we apply that to our emotions and the fact that they're always flowing as well, giving ourselves permission to flow with that. Okay, I was really happy with you yesterday. I thought you was the love of my life and was going to get married. And now things are coming into perspective, or you've said something, or I don't know, we've had a fight. And I'm not saying that's all over in one day, because that's another thing of giving things up too quickly. But as women, we've been raised to stay and stay and stay and stay and stay. The fact, Lee said, I journaled about this once. How do you regain trust in yourself? It's the way in which I'm trying to do it is in step by step re-establishing my integrity, because integrity is a huge value to me. Yeah. And then over time I realized I'm not doing what I'm saying I'm gonna do. And it's not like, oh well, I said I was gonna do, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the best example, but like, it's not out of circumstances or that I'm not able to show up. It's literally sometimes out of laziness, sometimes out of doubt, sometimes out of fear. Like, I've been clutching onto people, things, places that I really had no business being around anymore, and I've known that for a while. But then why was I still doing it? Because I haven't established trust in me, and the fact that when I do change it, when I do start spending time with people who actually do value and appreciate me, things will be better. So now I'm still entertaining conversations with people that we're really not friends, and I can see that even more each time. And it's like, No. And that doesn't help me to trust myself, because now, despite what I'm saying, Ebony, I want to trust you. Ebony, I want to do what's best for you. That's not what I'm actually doing. And so my body knows that's not something that we can rely on ourselves for. So it could be like setting a 21-day challenge, because they say it takes 21 days to build a habit of, okay, I'm going to do this every single day until I'm comfortable and I've rebuilt it. Or I'm gonna, like, I just started this 31-day yoga challenge, and that's a part of me building trust in myself, because I know things happen. I know things don't always go to plan, especially when it comes to relationships, friendships, and things that rely on other people. We're all having our own individual experiences. But if I can say to myself that every day when I wake up I'm going to do my yoga, I know that's one thing that I'm building up the consistency and the showing up for. That's me showing up for myself. And when we start doing that in one way, it gets easier to do it in other ways as well. Someone said, oh, mommy, what are you doing? I'm making waist beads. I'm making crystal waist beads right now. And we are talking about truly knowing your worth physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. Sorry, I am creasing. You know, you're not the first person to say I look Somalian. And I said it, I was telling someone the other day, because they was like, oh, you look Jamaican. And I said, I normally get that, but I've had some other ones as well. Like, someone said I look Somalian. But when they said that to me, I was dating a Somalian guy. So because we was living together, I was like, maybe we're just like blending and missing. But I think it's just the way that I do my scarf. I don't know, guys. I dated a Somalian, and ever since then, people have been saying I look Somalian. And that was like 4 years ago. But yes, anyway. We were definitely blending. No, but do you know what's so weird? Sometimes it's dumb little things. Stupid little things. I have not spoken to this guy since December 2022, yeah? We used to dance to Kodak Black Super Gremlin like this. So sometimes I'll be listening to something and I'll start going like this. And I'm like, why am I still doing this? Like, don't get it twisted. I'm a dancer. I have thousands of dances in my head. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Why am I still doing this little dance that my ex used to do? And then it makes me feel like I'm not over him. But do you know what? In the last 2 weeks, I realized I never admitted to myself that I actually really liked him. Because we started off as friends, and then we started chilling together more, and then it kind of moved into a relationship without officially becoming one. It's the Somalian blood in my veins, you know, violating. I don't have Mali. I might, actually. I don't know. As I was saying, I get so overwhelmed when I talk about this, because that relationship was weird to me. Because I wasn't being authentic, I was being who I thought I was supposed to be. I literally said this to myself like 2 days ago. If I was Muslim, like some of my family, and I was a woman who wasn't like so determined to build her own thing, and I was okay with being in a relationship where I rely on my partner, blah, 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 I could have married him. And that's including the stories I've told about like his frustrations and his anger, because it sounds bad, but he's not the worst. And in the times that things did happen, we were able to like talk about it to the point of like resolving it. Or I could say to him, listen, I don't like when you do that. Like even after the incident where he beat me up in my sleep, we ended up talking about his dad and telling me about that. Oh, thank you. I like to think I'm a bit of a vibe, but yeah. But even for me to ever say like I actually loved him, or that I actually enjoyed being with him for the most part, and that like sometimes I miss him, I want to throw up because I'm like the sides of it that wasn't great. It's like, no, don't even joke, don't even utter those words ever. But it's natural. Again, this is what I mean about not suppressing my emotions. Okay, the emotion is I miss my ex a little bit. on the okay, what do I need? It's not to reach out. It's not to go looking through old I don't even have old videos, but it's not to go and do that stuff. It's like, okay, what can I do for me now? What do I miss about him specifically? And how can I create that for myself? Is it something that I can do with a friend? Is it something, because I don't need to go back there. Frank said that happened to me. I could have married this girl, but I was too immature and she was too much. There's that as well. So with this ex, I wouldn't even say we was both immature. Well, not really. I was mature. He was immature. He was on badness and stuff. And so that was actually a part of how we started bonding. Because when we first started like getting together, he came back to my yard with his hand broken and a thing on it, a cast. So I asked him what happened. My man's trying to tell me, oh, I fell off my pedal bike. I'm looking at him like, I know you know how to ride your bike very well. Like, I don't even fall off a pedal. Like, what are you talking about? So I knew he had a fight. And it took him months to tell me. But even little things like that, the reason why our relationship broke down. So remember I spoke about the Ramadan thing. Ramadan was the hardest period. That's the hardest period of time I've been in a relationship ever, where I had to cook for Ramadan and bearing in mind I wasn't even Muslim at the time. I took my shahada after that. But anyway, doing all of that, during that time, he became very abusive, like verbally shouting at me. I used to cry if I didn't make enough food and all of these things. And then a couple months later, when we broke up, he told me that basically his brethren stained him for like 15 bags, which is £15,000, by the way. And again, it put everything into context, because I'm like, oh, this is why you was always angry. This is why, like, if I needed extra money for groceries or something, like, there was a tension. But I didn't know that, and you didn't tell me that. And so, it's money. It's no small chicken check. Even £500, I'll be saying, huh? What do you mean he stained you? That was his brethren. £15,000. I can't imagine what he was going through. But we're living in the same house. We're sharing a roof. We're sharing a room, even. We don't live in, like, a one bedroom. We live in a room in a shared accommodation. It's a big room, but still, like, we're in each other's spaces, and you're going through all of that, and I don't know. So now it's like you're taking it out on me, but I don't know something's wrong with you, so I think something's wrong with me. Because of my insecurities, there were so many things, and now I'm just looking back at it like, raw. Like, that relationship was actually a lot. Bearing in mind, I turned 23 during that relationship. Yeah, it's mental. But that's where I'd say, like, what do you mean the government owed you 10k? How did the government know? This one is interesting. The fact that they tried to keep it, but I'm not shocked. The government, when have they been on the straight and narrow? Please, it's just a business. It's just a business. I don't know what to say. But yeah, I kind of went down my ex. He's not even the most recent ex. But as I've been processing through my most recent ex, I've had to... That's a lie. The thing after that wasn't a relationship. But I don't know. There's something. Yes, we need story time with Frank. That is big money. Even to me. You don't know. That's big money regardless. It's not chicken change. But the emotional abuse, he said, to make one feel bad about themselves or doubt their feelings. The truth is, no one is responsible for your feelings. But if someone tries to convince you against what you're feeling, then it can be very abusive. And this also includes bullying. Why? Sorry, we're still on Frank's story. Why don't they want to pay you? And this is like, so I used like my council to help me move from Hackney to Coventry when I was going through some stuff and I needed to get away. And so basically, they give me allowance for a studio flat, but I live in a 1 bedroom. And according to my landlord, like, according to the specifications, I live in a 1 bedroom. But because they've counted it as a studio flat, they've been underpaying me on my rent and all of these things. But I don't even, like, my landlord keeps telling me, push on it, press on them, press on them. I left one note in my journal and I just left it there, and then I stopped attending my meetings and stuff because you guys are not really doing anything, but you're all up in my business. You're supposed to be here to help me. I'm asking you for help. You're saying, oh, we can't really help you like that. But we want to know everything that's going on with you. All the money. Please, informant. Why did they? It's so annoying. No one even understands, like. And then it gets on my nerves because I'm like, I started a business so that I don't have to deal with you people. Please go away. Go. But yeah. He said, yeah, same type of thing. I was underpaid. You should push that. If there's evidence, you will win. There's so much evidence. I've moved into this place in October. You know, in November, they just suddenly decided to stop giving me help. So, it's been a journey. We can say that. And it didn't even start there. This whole journey started when I was 17 and my mom just left me at home by myself one day. And I said, okay. And from there, I've been looking after myself. And it's just been mad. And that's why I had to learn the hard way about all these abusive things. These abuse techniques. That I'm just like, yeah, no. But I will look into it, 100%. Why not? We spoke about emotional abuse. The final one is financial abuse. And then I know a nice holiday. You know, guys, I just started working at Habibi in Coventry. If you're in Coventry, then make sure you come down. We've got pool tables. We've got amazing music. I'm at work there every day from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. So the holiday right now is looking like mythical. But I'm hoping I'm going to go in like September, October. Because I'm not going to lie, if I'm working every single day, no break, until September, October, laughing. Absolutely laughing. But yeah. Financial abuse is the last one, speaking of which. So, give me 1 second. That's the thing as well. Like, sometimes when I'm on live, I get so caught up in a conversation, I forget that I'm making a waist bead. And that's like the whole point of why we're here. So yeah. But I put down financial health as understanding your value beyond the material. So financial health isn't even just about the money that you have. It's about your skill set. It's about your resourcefulness. It's about the things that you assign value to. Do you value something because it has sentimental value to you, or because it mean like you've reached a goal within yourself, or because of what that thing represents in the world? For a lot of people, like, nice to meet you too. Thank you. And next time you should join the live and tell us your story as well. And even Lee, oh, actually, I gotta talk to you about that stuff. Let me just message you now so that I remember. Oh my gosh, I did not see your message. Okay. Okay. Yes, 100%. Let me see. What was I gonna do? Sorry, guys. My brain is like doing here, there, everywhere. Financial abuse. So where financial health can get abusive is if you're using someone for their money, or if you're using money as a means of control. So I said, if someone is with you for what they can get, that's transactional. And it can be abusive where they'll play on your emotions just so that they can have what they want. And then on the other side, someone can be very abusive through control and trying to destroy your independence. So when I give the examples, I'm going to do it as if it's a heterosexual male-female relationship, but it can apply to different relationships. And I was going to say something, but we'll have that conversation another live. But we're going to do it as if each of them are abusive. So the man is the main breadwinner, and he's being abused by the woman because she depends on him for her livelihood, right? And so instead of being honest, or instead of like creating a real relationship with him, it's going to be based on people pleasing, because she knows that pleasing him will get her what she wants. And so it means that he's not... Oh, guys, sorry. I stabbed myself this morning. Yeah, I don't even want to show you guys. Like, literally, basically, I put my crumpets in the freezer. So I was trying to break 2 crumpets apart. So I put the knife in, and like went like this, and the knife just went in my hand. But anyway, about the abusive woman, she's not gonna be genuine with him, because it's all about what she can get in the end of it. And then on the other side of it, if you have a guy who's controlling you, using money, it's like, speaking of my ex, he used to say, oh my God, how did I not make this connection? So one day, at the time that we was together, I was running Cultured Ways. I was volunteering in my community, doing youth work and different projects and stuff. I was at uni, and then I wasn't working at the time because the volunteering was taking up all my time. Fine. And I remember one day he said to me, I wish I could just pay you to do nothing. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't want to do nothing. And I didn't recognize it in the moment that he would have been setting up a dependency so that I needed him. And that can be very dangerous. It can put people in situations that they don't want to be in, where now your security and livelihood is reliant on that situation, and it makes it harder to leave. Honestly, do you think that's the worst part? So he said that to me in April, and I remember because we was filming the big movie project. So April, he says to me, I wish I could just pay you to do nothing. May, I get a tattoo on my foot of a lotus flower, and tattoos are haram, and he's Muslim. And so I come home, I didn't tell him first. I come home and I'm like, hey, look what I did. And he's like, are you crazy? Who did you ask for permission? I should have left your broke ass in the hood. Me and him that was sleeping right next to each other still in the hood, by the way. And that one hurt me, because I'd been open with him about my situation and the fact that I'd been on my own for years. By that point, 6-7 years? And so I thought that, like, I thought there was a genuine thing of why he was helping me. But then now, I think it was all just to satisfy his ego of the kind of man that he was. Because I didn't know anything about, like, this is going to sound so racist and silly. Obviously, I know that man them are players, innit? But because he's Mali, and because he's Muslim, and he just seems like such a stand-up guy, I never ever thought that other women would be a problem. And I never did think that until we was breaking up, and he goes, like, eventually I locked off all my things for you. And I was like, okay, I didn't have any things this whole time. Like, bro, what's that supposed to mean? But it was just like, you should feel lucky that that was the energy behind it. And that is like, it just showed me that he saw me as less. And for a lot of women, they end up in situations like that because some men are raised to believe that women are lesser. And so that's where things can get abusive. That's where, guys, since I started working in this bar and restaurant, every single day someone will come in and be like, oh my God, I found my wife. So this guy is coming, right? He's a science teacher. He's like, oh my God, I found my wife. I'm coming here tomorrow with my friends, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay. he called his friend in front of me. Oh, who's this girl? Bloody, bloody, blah. Yeah, I'm gonna marry her. And I kept on saying, yeah, okay. And he's like, oh, when he was leaving, I don't remember. Oh no, my boss called me outside and he said, please, like, make sure you actually work and don't just stand by the bar talking to people. I said, I know, like, I'll go to the kitchen for a bit and then whatever. Then eventually I said to him, he got me in trouble because I'm supposed to be doing my job and you're just standing here. He now started doing, oh, I'm not going to come back here again if that's how they're moving. And I said, you just came in here and said, oh, yeah, this woman is going to be mine. Did anybody say that they wanted you? He now got upset. But who? You didn't ask me. That's why he's like, he was saying, oh, I can come and pick you up from work and drop you home when you finish. And bloody... No, he didn't say I can come. He said, yeah, I'll drop you home from work when you finish. That won't be too bad. And I'm looking at him talking about these plans that he hasn't asked me. I said, did I say that I wanted you to drop me home? Did I say that I wanted you? And he's like, where are you getting this idea from? You're not even asking me. You're telling me as if you have any authority over it. Like, it was just so disgusting. And it's so normal. So when people meet me and they're like, oh, she doesn't just listen. My dad says it all the time. Oh, Ebony doesn't listen to men. Ebony doesn't listen to men. I'm like, bro, it's literally like kidnapping. You know, oh my God. Oh my gosh. It's crazy. I haven't worked behind a bar for maybe 5 years. Maybe more. Actually, more than that. When was the last time I worked in comms? Maybe 2020. So yeah, like 6 years. And being back there. And remember, I'm an entertainer. I perform on stage and stuff. So it's not unusual that people will be like attracted and blah blah blah. But in this setting where like it's direct contact and conversation, it's not even conversation, it's dictatorship. And I'm not involved. But yeah, sorry, this started with me talking about financial abuse. And men basically not allowing women to work so that they can do what they want to do. The same thing happened to my auntie. She moved to her husband's country, and when they got there, he started doing all of these things with other women. And for years and years and years, he kept on saying, yeah, you can start your own business, you can start your own business. After maybe 7 or 8 years, he finally let her get a job. And it's like, I can't do that. First of all, I've always been very hyper independent because I didn't have people giving me stuff and whatever, right? On top of that, when I thought about if I want someone to come in, I'm not saying I don't want princess treatment, but if I want someone to come in and do everything for me, no, then what's the point of being a human? How do I get to grow and figure out who I am? He's not gonna know, no matter how close he is to me, no matter if I tell him everything happening, he won't know what's going on inside of me. And there's things that can't be explained, and those things are true to me. When I get a nudge to... I've been supposed to do this live for like a month and a bit. I said, Ebony, do it today. I was supposed to do it on Sunday. I was supposed to do it on Monday. I said, do it today. Today, Lee's here, Frank's here. You get it? Like, somebody called Dochi just came here, and I love Dochi. So I'm just like... But yeah, it's just that thing of following your own path and allowing yourself to explore and be curious. Someone I know, her mum always used to say, oh yeah, you're going to go to uni. When you finish uni, you'll move back home and then you'll move into your husband's house. And I'm like, so when does she get to have her own space? Because I know at home, she don't get to have her own space. What are you talking about? Her dad shouted at me because there was no one there to make food for Ramadan. There's 3 people over the age of 16 in the house, but no one can make dinner. 3 grown-ass guys. No one can make dinner. Where is she? Where is she? It's crazy. And I've recently come to terms with the fact that I felt like my dad raised me to be functioning and not to exist. And so I'm trying to give myself permission to exist and not just function. But it's hard because I've just started this new job. And because I'm so I think my life has been so functional so far that sometimes I don't recognize when I'm doing it until I stop and I'm like, okay, you know, that was not necessary, right? And then, yeah, we go from there. But that was all the notes I had prepared to talk about what it means to truly know your worth. And it really, really, really starts with just a choice of, I'm gonna value me. I'm gonna explore me. I'm gonna be curious about myself. The same way we get curious about other people and other things. Learn you. Every day I'm allowing myself to learn myself. And it's good because I thought I knew me and I don't think I really did. I think I knew the version of me that learned to survive. In the end, as someone who's not very liked, let's put it like this. In the end, a lot of things are not said. A lot of things are hidden. And as someone who's very outspoken, who's very see it, say it, sort it, they don't always like that. And so I learned to be a certain type of way, which I'm unlearning now, because that way doesn't allow me to take up space. It doesn't allow me to ask the questions that I need to feed my own soul. And then it doesn't allow me to show up in a way that's like, this feels better for me. I understand that I was raised to believe this, or women are supposed to be like this, but it doesn't feel good. I don't like it. It feels like I'm sacrificing myself for people who will never do the same for me. Because in moments when I did need help, or when I did need someone, those people that I was showing up for, like my parents, they were not there. They left. And as soon as things started going good again, another thing I just realized is like, none of my family came to visit me at uni until I started my business. That's when my dad first came and picked me up, but I still had to pay for everything. And that didn't happen when my stepsister moved. So it's not just me, because my dad does this thing of like, and it's all just abuse. My dad, while I was at uni, he didn't send me off with anything. He didn't come. He didn't talk to me while I was at uni. He didn't do any of those things. When I had some issues with my rent, and so I had to move back to London, he drove the van that picked me up from Coventry and drove me back to London. I had to pay for the petrol in the van. I bought him food and stuff. I gave him money for weed. And then, what was the other thing? I don't remember, but that's like how that happened. And then when my stepsister moved, he sorted everything for her. He bought her suitcases and whatnot. Fine. And then a little while, like years after that, he was like, you need to stop acting as if you're my only child. And I'm like, I don't try and act as if I'm your only child, but you do show everybody else more love and support than you show me. But they're making me feel like that's not true, and I'm just greedy and I'm just selfish, when no, I just say my life experience is a bit different. But don't get twisted, when I'm sharing this stuff, it's not to complain and to say poor me and to victimize myself. Obviously it's kind of sad, so I appreciate when people do say that, because the people who do it themselves don't apologize. But at the same time, it's like, I'm very grateful that I was abandoned and left alone to the extent that I was, because it made me very creative and it made me who I am today and how I am. But on the other side, it's very hurtful, and I feel attacked by the entitlement to what I'm building for myself. And the fact that my dad would come and stop pumping, what's that thing called? Wait, I'll show you. When you do this with a pillow, start doing this with the pillows and cushions around me, talking about, oh, it'd be so nice if someone paid my rent for a year. Of course it bloody would. It would have been nice if he gave me £10 at uni that day, instead of ignoring me and pretending he didn't see my message. But anyway, I'm still working through all of this stuff. I didn't allow myself to be angry for so long, and so now I'm just like, do it. And a lot of me not allowing myself to be angry is because of again, the global consensus, and this is where it impacts my spirit, the global consensus of how we view family, and there's nothing wrong with that, but not everybody's family is like that. So now you're judging me and you want to subject me to family values in a family that does not exist on family values, where I'm literally being harmed, being silenced, being sexually abused, bullied, all of these, isolated, abandoned, neglected, and I can't do that anymore, so I just have to stop. And yes, that is the end of the live. Even though I only made 2 waist beads, maybe I might stay on live and make the 3rd one, but I need to wash my wound first. Don't worry, I didn't touch the waist bead with it, but look, I cut my hand this morning. We're gonna put some apple cider vinegar on it and a new plaster, and then you know what, I am gonna make the 3rd waist bead. Do I have anything to talk about? I don't know. Does anybody have any questions or anything to say? Oh. Guys, I've accidentally cut myself before, but today wasn't just a cut, it was a stab. And it looks so disgusting inside. It looks like hand guts are coming out. I don't know. I'm gonna put lemon on it as well. I put apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna put lemon on it. I'm gonna go shortly as I need to read. No worries. I'm literally, that's why I'm like, I don't know if I should just make the 3rd waist bead off live. I might as well, because I finished talking about everything I wanted to talk about. So thank you everyone who joined me today. Thank you for holding space. I laughed, I cried, we told stories, I blushed over my ex, which yeah, I'm just gagging a little bit, but I actually liked him, so yeah. I'm gonna go now. Lee, I'm gonna message you, thank you so much. And Frank, if you're still here, it was actually nice to meet you. And bye everybody. Thank you for liking the live. If you're on YouTube, please do like, comment, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for another live soon.